We're back with the live session here. DG Sachs, disrupteducation.co. You see the brand, you see the logo. You can't miss it. It's on YouTube, it's on TikTok. Make sure you go tune in to the podcast if you haven't done it yet. Ask Siri, ask Alexa. It's gonna pop up somewhere. Man, it's cold, man. It's cold. I see you got the
Yep.
sweater. Sweater weather. Is that Adidas? Is that
I
champion?
don't, this is, I think
Rocket today.
it's an Eddie Bauer thing. So it's
Oh,
kind of
I
like
love
a
it, man.
under rib shirt or whatever. You used to call them like long underwear shirt, but now I guess it's cool to wear them outside. I don't know, man. Like
Right, right.
24, man. I'm on
It's trending, right? It's trending.
trending. Yeah, yeah. So when y'all look at this live like 10 years down the road, you're like, what the hell is he wearing? So
What's going on? I love it, man. I love it. Got to stay warm out there, man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we got to keep it hot. It's 2024 and we're
Mhm.
finding ways to stay inspired through our crafts, right? You being an absolute amazing educator, myself on the musician side, finding ways to get inspired. I was just in the studio recently, not recording, but just listening, right? Like
Yep.
going there as a person, a fly on the wall and just being a listener. Really just finding another lane of just like creativity, right? How can I tap into my creativity on another level? And I'm just curious, I'm sure it happens a lot when you're having these conversations, but where are you finding inspiration inside the classroom, outside the classroom to, just kind of navigate through the current education system right
Right.
now?
Great question. Thank you for asking. The inside the classroom where you find your inspiration is if you're not finding inspiration from the youth in there, you got to
Mm,
change something. That's where I find inspiration in a classroom.
yeah,
Look, man, I'm working with 100 plus kids every day,
yeah,
and just really kind of making time during the day to have a conversation with people, right? I
yeah,
think too often as educators, one of the things that we do is we want to get through the curriculum,
mm,
and then we shove the humanistic side aside.
yeah,
Just talking to kids, man, like these are resilient young people, the Z's, the alphas that are coming after them. Yeah, they have a lot of different stories, they have a lot of different interests, and just connecting, people in ways to them and then creating and grabbing ideas from them on how they see things. It makes, like, we were talking on the last live about the sandbox in education. So that's the main place I get inspiration. There are other educators in the school that I work at,
yeah,
within the building, who are amazing. My colleagues that I work with on our team with the business team at Stagg High School,
yeah.
just very different, and we kind of create some like hype and do some different things around there. Now, outside the classroom, the world is your oyster, man. We're talking right here.
That's
And
right.
we're pretty close, not too far
Yeah,
away from each other, a couple miles or whatever.
yeah,
However, we were just on a podcast previously with somebody in the UK. I just was talking to an ed tech company in Vancouver with a marketing person who was in Europe at the time, but she's from Ireland. Like the
mhm,
world's your oyster. So seeing and connecting with people right here on LinkedIn, even on the YouTube channel, but mostly on LinkedIn, um, connecting with amazing educators and seeing what they're doing and just having conversations, listening to podcasts around it. It's not all the time. I really am a conversator. I love to talk to people. You listen to any of our interviews, Ali Privet and my interviews on the podcast. I mean, we came out hot with Don Wettrick this year.
yeah.
We have Pam Roy, a lot of other people coming on, and they're just amazing people who do things to help people learn and learn themselves. And that's where the inspiration comes from.
Absolutely. And one thing that resonates with what you just mentioned, like I know there's this level of like staying on task and like staying to the curriculum,
Hmm.
but like I even feel like even when I was in high school, that was where the fall off did happen for a lot of people in the classroom. It was like there was just so much structure to the point where there wasn't enough leeway to
Yeah.
kind of get out of those parameters and then like be able to kind of explore more inspiration within the classroom of like what you were learning, if it was geometry, if it was history. And I feel like that's the thing you've done really well of is like getting outside of that box. So
Hmm.
what I'm curious to know, like, because I feel like this is where the disruption needs to start occurring more, but like what what happens if you don't follow the curriculum? Like where does it go from there? I'm very curious to know, like, I guess the next step, because I think
Right.
ultimately that's where the opportunity for more inspired learning happens. So what happens if, let's say, you don't follow the curriculum 1 or 2
Right.
days?
Let me clarify, because not following the curriculum can mean a lot of different things. So
Sure.
the
Sure.
first thing is like if I'm teaching a business class and I start teaching history, that's a
Hmm.
problem, right? Like,
For
I'm
sure.
here to teach business. I'm not here to teach,
For sure.
US history, right? We've got aces in our team to do that.
Totally.
So by not following that, you'll probably hear it from
Right, right.
parents, from students, and different things like that. That's an extreme piece.
Yeah.
However, look, at the end of the day, let's go into an entrepreneurship course, right? What the curriculum is asking students to get is what is actually a business model canvas? How do you pitch? How do you come up with an idea, implement and try it out and make it a product or service? There's more to it, but those are just the basics.
Sure.
So, if you're not doing it exactly the way it is like planned out every day, for most educators, nothing happens. As long as you're attaching your conversations to, um, you know, a humanistic approach, right? So you and I, we can talk music all day long, and then
Yeah.
I'll slip in there maybe the next day. What you said about doing this. You are an entrepreneur. Da 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 da. You're in the music industry or whatever like that, and that really actually works. Um,
Absolutely.
you know, the thing is you always have to tie the conversation around learning in a
Sure.
specific area.
Right.
So I do know, unfortunately, there are some schools out there that, and some systems out there that are like they want everybody at the same time on the same day, doing the same thing,
Right.
and then the same test and the same blah blah blah. Now
Yeah.
that's funny because this came up on the podcast recording we had earlier on this week,
Yeah.
where Allie and I were talking about this and how that is exactly, and you just said it as well as a
Yeah.
client of education a few years back where
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where the drop off happens. And we know that. We know
Yes.
that because you're saying it, we see it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think that's an opportunity for a lot of educators out there to push the button and do something a little bit different, like get off of that structured way. And
Yeah.
if you are in a system where that is required, you might want to look at a different system if you still want to teach. I mean, I'm just being fully honest, like because
Yeah.
robots can do that. So you really kind of have to think about things that way. That's what happens. And usually, like I said, nothing happens. When you start creating, though, and you get into the sandbox and then you start sharing. Now, Don Wettrick said this, like we almost have an obligation as educators who are innovative to show what we know, to
Yeah.
show what our students are doing, to show the different practices that we're doing so we can share the wealth, right? Let's lift up educators who are doing it this way. And that way it will kind of hopefully start a newer trend in doing those things, which there's a ton of educators doing amazing things out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I mean, you've got the 97% and you've got the 3%, and
Mhm.
you being part of the 3% who is going to bring a different approach to the classroom. Uh, really what you're asking for from everyone across the board is just bring your best self every day,
Yeah.
right? And those tiebacks, I think, is what is going to allow, children to really like resonate with the messages more and be more involved and vocalize what they're feeling. And I think that's the really important part, is that it's not just a one-way street. Like, you want to create a dialogue with these young, future adults, future entrepreneurs in the classroom, to really be able to express themselves. And I think that's really the key component, that as educators are looking at this live, or whoever is looking at this live, figure out ways that you can take your craft to the next level through different ways of inspiration, whether it's having a simple conversation with someone, getting outside of your box of just networking at an event that's in relation to maybe something that you're interested in. Find ways to just bring those tiebacks in, and take your craft to the next level. It could be just that one event that changes the needle
Yeah.
forward. So, um,
100%.
mentioned some great things. For those who don't know, like I said, disrupteducation.co. Make sure you check out Mr. Disrupt Education here on YouTube and LinkedIn. And for those who follow the live, make sure you continue to tune in on LinkedIn, share the live with those who would be interested in listening to these type of conversations. And happy to have, conversations even outside of this.
Yeah.
If you all are in question about things that you're working on and perhaps just want a safe space, right? Always happy to do that. So you can
Yeah.
find me at dgsacks.com. Appreciate those who tune in, and we'll see you next time.
All
Stay
right,
warm.
guys.